Good day. My name is John Claymore, the Executive Director for the Office of Native Education within OSPI. As an enrolled member of the Cheyenne River Sioux Tribe in Eagle Butte, South Dakota, I am joining you today from the ancestral lands of the Squamish people. I live out here in Paulsbo, Washington. We have the opportunity to partner with our tribal nations through government-to-government relationships while clearing brighter pathways to post-secondary opportunities. According to the data collected through the OSPI annual report card, Native learners are considered the most in need with low graduation rates and assessment proficiency. I want to thank you for taking part in this important work, and I look forward to learning more from you and supporting your plans while engaging in the consultation process with the tribal nations. The Office of Native Education is here to assist and support by going the distance and making a difference in the Native youth of today and the leaders of tomorrow. Let us know how we can help you in supporting all Native learners throughout the state of Washington. It is my honor to introduce our presenters. Cindy Kelly, an elder of the Delaware Nation, is a board director and legislative representative for the Port Angeles School District. Cindy also serves as the WSSDA Tribal Ambassador and chair of the WSSDA Government-to-Government Task Force. Cindy will share an overview of tribal consultation. Cindy Webster Martinson, an elder of the Squamish tribe, serves as president of the North Kitsap School Board and is a staff member at Chief Kitsap Academy and a member of the WSSDA Government-to-Government Task Force. She will discuss required areas of tribal consultation between districts and tribal nations. Sally Brownfield, an elder of the Squaxin Island tribe, serves as vice president of the Shelton School Board, is a member of the WSSDA Board of Directors, and serves on WSSDA's and the National School Board Association's Government-to-Government Task Force Equity Committees. Sally is the Director of Early Learning for the Squaxin Island Tribe and will share about the importance of continued relationships building between nations and school districts. And Dr. Laura Lynn, descendant of the Chickasaw tribe and of peoples of Europe, Eastern Europe, and Syria. Laura serves as the program supervisor with the Office of Native Education while supporting the implementation of the Since Time Immemorial Tribal Sovereignty Curriculum. Again, I want to thank you for taking part in this most important work. Take care, be well, be safe.
Hello, my name is Cindy Kelly. I acknowledge that I'm on the indigenous lands of the Coast Salish peoples who have reserved treaty rights to this land, specifically the Clallam tribes. I thank these caregivers of this land who have lived and continue to live here since time immemorial. The land acknowledgement that I just shared was developed through collaboration with the Lower Elwha Clallam tribe. Tribal peoples have engaged in intertribal relations and consultation for thousands and thousands of years. Prior to Washington becoming a state, treaties were negotiated between the sovereignty tribal nations of this region and the U.S. government in 1854 through 1855. Tribal peoples understand principles of consultation that protect the educational rights of tribal peoples today. Continued government-to-government relations between the tribes and Washington state have been affirmed through agreements. One example is the Centennial Court dated August 4th, 1989. Signatures included the federally recognized Indian tribes of Washington and the state of Washington as represented by its governor. This accord intends to improve relationships between tribal governments and the state in order to better achieve mutual goals. Each party to this accord represents the sovereignty of the other. The respective sovereignty of the state and of each federally recognized tribe provides paramount authority for that party to exist and to govern. The parties share their relationship, particularly with respect for the values and culture represented by tribal governments. The Centennial Court further states that this accord encourages and provides the foundation and frameworks for specific agreements among the parties, outline specific tasks to address or resolve specific issues. And finally, that the parties recognize the implementation of this accord will require a comprehensive educational effort to promote understanding of the government-to-government relationship within their own governmental agencies and with the public. 10 years later, the subsequent 1999 Millennium Accord affirmed the goals and intents of the Centennial Court. There are many examples of educational opportunities that have resulted from legislation designed to honor these agreements and serve tribal students and families. These opportunities require consultation and includes the since time immemorial tribal sovereignty curriculum, the establishment of tribal compact schools, the right to wear tribal regalia act, and the data sharing agreements between tribes and school districts that require the adoption of district policy and procedures. As elected school board directors, it is important to understand state legislation as well as federal laws. In 2016, the Elementary and Secondary Educational Act, known as the Every Student Succeeds Act, or ESSA, was reauthorized. In ESSA, Section 5838 requires certain local educational agencies to consult with Indian tribes and tribal organizations on issues affecting American Indian and Alaska Native students. Therefore, we have a responsibility to ensure that our district and educational agencies engage in meaningful, ongoing, and timely tribal consultation with the federally recognized tribe or tribes near our district. At the 2020 WSSDA General Assembly, our members approved a position that would codify the need for tribal consultation. The position reads as follows: WSSDA shall initiate and/or support legislation that requires tribal consultation of any education bills and processes, including the support of ethnic, cultural studies, and programs.
Hi, I'm Cindy Webster Martinson. I'm joining you from Paulsville, Washington on the Port Madison Reservation of the Suquamish tribe. When it comes to tribal consultation, there are situations where all districts are required to consult, and some situations where only some districts are required to consult with local tribes. Here's a chart that shows those two types of situations. We'll also make this chart available in the links below or off to the side of this video. As shown in the chart, all districts are required to consult regarding the implementation and inclusion of tribally specific resources with the since time immemorial curriculum. Some districts are required to engage in tribal consultation due to funding requirements to ensure funds are supporting Native students. These areas include Title III, Part A, English Language Acquisition, Language Enhancement, and Academic Achievement Act programs serving American Indian and Alaska Native learners. Tribal consultation and collaboration are addressed in one of three ways. One, as a tribal consultation. Two, if your district is not required to engage in ESSA tribal consultation and you have a Title VI Native Education program, collaboration with your district's Title VI leader. Three, if your district is not required to engage in ESSA tribal consultation and you do not have a Title VI Native Education program, there is a menu of service options to select. This is monitored in collaboration with the OSPI Office of Native Education. Title VI, Part A, Subpart 1. Indian Education Formula Grants to local educational agencies. Tribal consultation addressed in collaboration with Title VI Parent Committee and through ESSA tribal consultation through application process. CTE Perkins 5 Grant. The Strengthening Career and Technical Education for the 21st Century Act, Perkins 5, was signed into law on July 31st, 2018. This reauthorized the Carl D. Perkins Career and Technical Education Act of 2006, Perkins 4. With Perkins 5, an additional requirement for eligible school districts, skill centers, tribal compacts, to conduct a comprehensive local needs assessment, CLNA, was included. In conducting the CLNA, eligible recipients shall involve a diverse body of stakeholders, including representatives of Indian tribes and tribal organizations. Tribal languages. Tribal consultation is required if your district is offering or plans to offer tribal languages for students supporting world language requirements, dual language instruction, certificate of biliteracy. Instruction in tribal languages is guided by the First Peoples, First Language, Culture, and Oral Traditions Teacher Certification Program. Every Student Succeeds Act, ESSA, Section 8538. School districts that access ESSA funds and meet the criteria as a school district with American Indian, Alaska Native enrollment over 50% and or implementing Title VI Indian education grants over $40,000 are required to engage in tribal consultation before submitting plans or applications for the following programs. Title I, Part A, improving basic programs operated by state and local educational agencies. Title I, Part C, education of migratory children. Title I, Part D, prevention and intervention programs for children and youth who are neglected, delinquent, or at risk. Title II, Part A, supporting effective instruction. Title III, Part A, English language acquisition, language enhancement, and Academic Achievement Act. Title IV, Part A, student support and academic enrichment grants. Title IV, Part B, 21st Century Community Learning Centers. Title V, Part B, Subpart 2, Rural and Low-Income School Program. Title VI, Part A, Subpart 1, Indian Education Formula Grants to local educational agencies. OSPI monitors ESSA tribal consultation and implementation of STI as part of the comprehensive program review. Now that we've had a brief overview of the requirements for tribal consultation, it is important to note that collaborative consultation with tribes is a best practice to support our Native learners. Sally Brownfield will now share about the importance of continued relationship building.
You go. Hatzlahel, Saspalitza Sista. Hi, my name is Sally Brownfield. I welcomed you in my traditional language, Lushootseed, and with my traditional name from my great-great-grandmother, Saspalitza, that was handed down for me to take care of. I'm joining you from the traditional lands of my tribal people down in a place called Camelchi. You've just gotten some valuable information about the history of tribal consultation and the laws and agreements that have been established between Washington State, the federal government, and our tribal nation governments. We pointed out specific areas where you have responsibility as school board directors to engage in consultation with tribes. As John shared in his opening remarks, our Native learners continue to struggle within our school system. This struggle begins for our children when they enter kindergarten and continues throughout their K-12 experience. Data shows that our Native children enter kindergarten at the same level as other learners and then face widening gaps of achievement as they progress through the K-12 system, up to and including graduation. I'd like to share a story that reflects some of the disconnect of our students and families experience with our public schools. This story was written by Beverly Slapin. It's an example of how Native ways of knowing and typical teaching practices collide. The story is called 2+2 or Why Indians Flunk. and is a conversation between a Native student and a classroom teacher. All right, class, let's see who knows what 2 plus 2 is. Yes, Doris? I have a question. 2 plus 2 what? 2 plus 2 anything. I don't understand. Okay, Doris, I'll explain it to you. You have 2 apples and you get 2 more. How many do you have? Well, where would I get 2 more? From a tree. Well, why would I pick 2 if I already have 2? Never mind. You have 2 apples and someone gives you 2 more. Why would someone give me 2 more if she could give them to someone who's hungry? Doris, it's just an example. An example of what? Let's try again. You have 2 apples and you find 2 more. Now how many do you have? Well, who lost them? You have 2 plus 2 apples. How many do you have altogether? Well, if I ate 1 and I gave away the other 3, I'd have none left. But I could always get some more if I got hungry from that tree that you were talking about. Doris, this is your last chance. You have 2 buffalo and you get 2 more. Now how many do you have? Well, that depends. How many are cows and how many are bulls? And is any of the cows pregnant? It's hopeless. You Indians have absolutely no grasp of abstraction. Huh? Again, a story by Beverly Slaven. Sadly, this story truly shows what many of our students and families experience in our schools, and it's not just an absence of history, language, or curriculum. Instead, they encounter teachers and staff who lack a true understanding of Native ways of being or engaging with the world. These staff are unaware of how our students may interact with teachings and materials in a cultural way that is different from other students. And that difference is often not recognized or accepted in a classroom. Regretfully, our students are actually disciplined for interactions like the ones I just shared. School leadership needs professional development that goes much deeper than a written curriculum or a one-day in-service. That's where truly relationship building between tribal communities and schools come in. It begins with authentic relationship building between school board directors and tribal leaders. And through these relationships, it becomes possible to set policy and expectations that truly serve American Indian Alaska Native students and families. Through close collaboration, school districts and Native communities can close opportunity gaps and improve academic outcomes. Let's see what building relationships really looks like and how we do this work. Here are some questions to consider, drawn from Model WSSDA policies. We'll put them here on the screen for a moment, but you can also find them in the slides linked below. Community relationships. Do you know the closest tribe to your district? Have you visited a tribal center, a museum, education department nearest your district? What knowledge and understanding do you have about how the tribal government closest to you works? Have you been to a tribal council meeting? Does your superintendent, school administrators, classroom teachers visit tribal students and families who live on reservations? How do you involve the tribal families and communities in your district policy development and adoptions? How are you ensuring that Native family voice is integrated into planning process that impact the tribal students, their families, and their communities? Students, how do you involve and engage your tribal students through integrated tribal history, language, and culture at every school throughout the academic year? Are tribal students represented and encouraged to be part of all programs in the district? Check your data. Instruction. How do you invite and involve tribal families and community members in processes of curriculum and instruction adoption? Does your school board disaggregate data and analyze it considering all three categories American Indian, Alaska Native learners are identified through? Is this data authentic? Are the success indicators that your school board considers determined through consultation? Does your curriculum represent tribal communities closest to your district? What is your understanding of cultural differences of American Indian, Alaska Native students in achievement, learning, testing, and assessment? Personnel. Do your school administrators, teachers, and staff members reflect the student population? Management support. How is your district ensuring that American Indian, Alaska Native students are correctly and accurately identified at the time of enrollment in your schools? Board of Directors, have you developed a land acknowledgement in consultation with the tribe or tribes nearest your district? What current consultation agreements have been established between your district and the nearest tribe? How often do you revisit and update those agreements? How often does your school board meet with the tribal council? As stated in RCW 28A.345.100, developing ongoing, meaningful, respectful relationships with tribal nations requires the commitment of each of you. As elected school board directors, you attend to your individual and collective culturally responsive learning opportunities. Also, as reflected in RCW 28.345.070, you should establish government-to-government relationships and dialogue between tribal councils and school district boards. So, what is your next step? Make that call to a tribal government official. Visit a tribal museum. Attend an event on a reservation or in a tribal community. Get to know the history of the tribe nearest you and their historical relationship with the school district, with the federal government education system, and your greater community. Get to know your tribal students, families, and community members. As you build trusting relationships between your board and the tribe or tribes, school staff will become more aware and begin to appreciate tribal ways of knowing and values that are essential for our Native learners and families to feel a sense of belonging and inclusion in our schools, and they will take pride in that.
Hello, I'm Dr. Laura Lynn, and I'm joining you as an honored guest from the ancestral lands of the Puyallup tribe. We'd like to express our gratitude to each of you for sharing this time with us. Thank you for learning more about your role as school officials and about your responsibility and the importance of developing and maintaining relationships and engaging in consultation with tribal nations. For more information, please visit the Washington State School Directors Association and the OSPI Office of Native Education websites. We look forward to hearing about your progress and successes. Please don't hesitate to reach out. We're here to help and walk this journey with you.